you haven't been working with your autonomic system one subconscious brain, you're in luck, because we can do that. There's a system that works, and it's so simple because it actually goes here. It doesn't try to fight this.
I love how all your models are coming together: conscious, non-conscious, system one, system two, autonomic nervous system. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So your depth of knowledge and your different models you have, they're all running concurrently. I can certainly see that. So when someone is getting into that, well, that's all fine and well, but I've tried to make changes before. I've used my willpower. I would suspect that your willpower falls into more of the compass. Is that correct? It's
Yeah,
trying
that's right.
to, yeah.
Yeah, there's a
So
couple books I would recommend. But Dr. Benjamin Hardy wrote Willpower Doesn't Work. And then Roy Baumeister wrote a book, Willpower. And they'll talk about how it's a finite resource. Okay. And it'll work temporarily. Like if you're at a party and somebody comes by with, bacon or chocolate, you can go, oh, no, thank you. But you burn up some energy doing it. And that's why at the end of the day, when people are just tired and they come home and they open up the fridge and it's just, ugh, right? Or if you try to diet for a while and then you go to eat and you didn't plan your dinner, you end up just grabbing stuff. It's a finite resource, and it only works temporarily. It's like a stopgap, but it's there because there are times evolutionarily in life we're moving through the world, and we're having an emotional reaction. Let's say someone passed away or we lost something, and then we got to show up for work. So we have to have this little temporary governor that keeps the emotion in, but it can't stay there because it'll destroy us if we hold it in. And then it'll pop out, right? It'll explode. And generally, that's a mess with people. So you want to be able to not have to rely on your willpower. And that's where people sometimes say, I just need more willpower. And I'm like, no, we need to just switch the association. Because, this is going to be a weird, I'm trying to say it in a non-gross way, but if people have ever gotten really sick, right? And whatever you ate before you got sick, boy, that association, you probably don't want that food anymore, right?
true.
So it's not like that per se, but imagine how, because your brain goes, ooh, I associated with not great. And that's how we can do things. We can begin to create positive associations and overwrite what's here so that you don't even have to go to willpower. And then you actually feel in control. You don't feel like you're trying to, you're holding the steering wheel and it's not working. It actually feels like you've got this.
What have you found in the research about how long it takes? Because it's not about the short-term willpower. It's about really changing the associations, the connections inside the magnet. How long does it take to literally have that stick?
Okay, so I'm going to talk from the research because I'm glad you asked that question. So, I mean, all of the evidence is on my site, and I'm going to just start quoting stuff or referring to stuff. But you heard the conventional thing. People will say a habit is formed in 30 to 60 days, right? And there really is no research that shows that, although they will say that when somebody does something repeatedly, what happens is the brain, okay, system one, right, says, well, we better automate this because this is obviously very important to the person, and we don't want to take up this conscious brain that we need to solve like tips at a restaurant or math problems or conscious things. We got to automate it. It's the same thing that happens in anything in life. When you get dressed, when you brush your teeth, when you drive to work, things are just automatic, okay? So that's why after a certain period of time, it becomes more automated. So what is that period of time? Sometimes it depends on how strong that neural pathway is. When you look at the neuroscience, they can actually find neurons firing when certain emotions or decisions happen. And so if something's really deep and really ingrained, it can take a little longer. And I would reference you, if you Google the backwards bike example, this is a great example where German engineers reverse engineered the steering of a bike. And they told people when you turn right, it goes left, left, it goes right. Try to ride the bike. So they're not hiding it. They're telling people no one could do it. They couldn't even get it 2 feet on the stage. And it took 9 months for an adult to relearn how to ride a backwards bike. So there's an example of, we know it's backwards. We know right goes left, left goes right, but it doesn't do anything because that neural pathway was so ingrained. So it's not identical, but it's a similar analogy. So some people have said, depending on how you work with the brain, like there are hypnotherapists that can get change very quickly because they can go in and really work on the beliefs here so that there's nothing to link to. So I've heard people demonstrate that after a few sessions of hypnotherapy, even their patients that were in post-traumatic stress had new associations, okay? Other times it would take longer. So there really isn't an agreement on what is the magic number that I have found. Generally, it's 60 days if you do something continuously, because again, the brain is going to automate it. But after that, they've talked about 3 months, 6 months. It really does depend on how deep that pattern is. But the point is, if we can get in and get deep. Now, that's if you just rely on repetition alone. If you just rely on repetition alone, then your brain is going to go, how long is it going to take for me to adopt this habit versus the other one? And that can be an individual thing, right? With COVID, I think about this now. We're going into, I don't even know what month, 4 or 5. So people have really developed new habits. I've talked to people that have said, wow, we don't eat out as much. We're cooking in more, and we'll probably keep doing that. So you might see some businesses close that are even able to come back because people's habits have changed. Okay. The reason why the system, Locus Mindset, the Thrive, we'll talk about that in a minute, but the Thrive framework works is repetition, R for Thrive, is only one of the elements. We use many more because I want things faster. Like business people want results quickly. Yes, we want to see change and we want it to stick, but we want it to stick and we want to see change in a more